Josh Green here for Tungsten Tales. Delighted to be joined by Sky Sports pundit and former World Championship quarter-finalist Laura Turner. Laura, how are you doing today? Recovered from the Worlds now, I guess?
Yeah, still been non-stop. I've been over at Modus recently as well, but no, it's great. It's yeah, just about getting over the worlds and then looking forward to the start of the Premier League.
Yeah, not too long now until the Premier League. The dart season is really up and running now. We've had that first World Series event. We've had the first challenge tours over the weekend, and that's sort of the main thing I wanted to speak to you about. A winner on the challenge tour over the weekend twice, Beau Greaves, after maybe a slight disappointment at Q-School, going and really proving a few people wrong, maybe by winning those two challenge tours. What have you made of it, and how excited are you for it?
Very excited. I was glued to Dark Connect, which just sounds like a really strange thing because all you're doing is watching numbers populate the screen. But yeah, it was really good. It doesn't come as a surprise to me, but in so much as just the abundance of talent that we've all said that she's got. But obviously, it's just having that belief and just doing it, and yeah, not just doing it once, doing it twice, and also over the first weekend. Even if she wasn't making the final or obviously picking up the trophy, she was still getting quite far going through a few rounds as well. So obviously all those efforts, she's now top of the Challenge Tour rankings. Yeah, I'm delighted for her.
You look at the amount of talent on those challenge tours, and it's very similar to when you turn up to a Q school event. And that first event, it was 90 plus average, 90 plus average, 90 plus average. And obviously, there was a whitewash win over John Henderson, a former tour card holder, in a final as well. They're performances that really sort of get people taking notice, aren't they?
Yeah, and absolutely, like I say, Twitter was completely going mad. It was filled up with just how well she was playing, and that's the thing. It's not just necessarily, picking up the title was amazing, but also just that level of consistency that she tends to show when she does play at such a high level. I mean, in terms of stats, I think percentage-wise, she's got the most win percentage. She's got the highest average for, a cumulative over. I think only Stefan Belmont played more actual games than her, but other than that, her win percentage was higher. So yeah, you just there's nothing there's not enough superlatives, I guess, to explain quite how good she is. But it's great to actually see her, now on the challenge tour, taking up that challenge literally, but running with it and getting the wins.
Do you see this as sort of, I guess, her proving to herself a little bit that she can do it? It seems, although over the last year or so, there has been a bit of a change in attitude from her, where she was very much competing in the women's events. She's now obviously playing a bit more on the development tour, and we've seen her head towards Q School and now Challenge Tour. Is that a change that you've seen develop over the last year, do you think?
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, obviously, Bo's been quite vocal in terms of, where she feels the women's game is compared to the men's, which I totally respect and understand. I think a lot of us still want to see her have a go at doing it because we just know the figures that she posts on things like the women's series or at the WDF events that she's attended, and to see her, achieving things because it doesn't come as a major surprise or a shock to me. But yeah, I think if you go back to maybe the Grand Slam, the most recent Grand Slam, where she was still a bit unsure about how she was going to fare, picked up a win in her last group stage match. And then there was almost like a shift in attitude as to go, yeah, I need to embrace these opportunities, slightly more. And then obviously we saw her at Q-School, which was great. She was unlucky, perhaps just had a couple of slow days to start with and then really pushed towards the tail end. But, the consolation obviously for Q-School is the fact that you're entitled to play on the Challenge Tour. And I'm so glad she took it up. And yeah, the result, 2 wins out of 5.
Do you think that there's sort of an added pressure for her now? Because a lot of people from the outside are saying that she needs this extra challenge, whether that is Challenge Tour or she's going to have the opportunity on Pro Tours now, and possibly in TV events moving forwards. Do you think there is a bit of an extra pressure on her to perform in those events?
But perhaps, obviously, Bo seems to deal with the pressure really quite well. I think it's twofold really, because obviously there's an expectation of us in terms of how the levels that she can play at, the consistent levels that she can play at, because she's demonstrated it over the weekend. So there's that performance pressure. But yeah, I think in terms of the expectation of others. She will do what she wants to do, and she'll do it at the right time. She's got great family support. She's obviously got a really good management team that just say, do it when you're ready. And perhaps that's been that key to success, because she hasn't rushed it. She did do Q-School a few years ago, decided she didn't want to come back to do it until this year, and now reaping the rewards by picking up a couple of events at the Challenge Tour. So I think she knows herself really well, and I'm just hoping now that this is that kind of that catalyst, that spark that she needed to perhaps push forward now, and take on things like the Pro Tour, as you mentioned, and hopefully see her in a few more televised tournaments. But it's got to be on her terms, and I think everyone, as much as we want to see her do brilliant things, I think she will do, but when she's ready.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it there. The position she's in on that Challenge Tour of merit, nice and clear at the top, with I think Stefan Belmont in second, who she beat on the course of one of the tournaments. That's going to give her the opportunities to be on the Pro Tour as a top up. So for people that don't know, if players drop out of the Pro Tour, they take off the Challenge Tour rankings. Beau is top of that, so she will have the opportunity to join those events should she want to. How do you see that as an opportunity for Beau, and do you think it's one that she will grasp?
I hope so. I think she's in that kind of golden position that we've seen players like Connor Scott or Chaz Barstow be in before, where they've gone into that first Challenge Tour event after the disappointment of not getting a tour card, gone into the first Challenge Tour event, managed to find themselves at the top, and then embrace the opportunities that the Pro Tour has to offer. But by doing that, she's still, because she hasn't got a Pro Tour card, we can still see her at WDF events. She can still play those women-centric events as well. So she's kind of perhaps in that got that chance to have the best of both worlds, see what it's like on the Pro Tour, see if you enjoy it, see how far you go. It's the ability to test and challenge herself. But the things that she's most comfortable doing, or what she said she's most comfortable in playing in terms of the women's series, in terms of the WDF tour, they're still open and available to her. So, I think it's a really good position for her to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously later this year, she'll defend the women's world match play as we get closer to December. I know it's a long way away now. She will be back at Lakeside. She said that after defending her title and winning it for a third time. How important do you think these things are, not just for her, but for the ladies chasing her as well, to make sure that they have the opportunity to challenge the person we're saying is the number one in the sport at the moment?
Yeah, you see it generationally throughout. If you look at the kind of mainstream game, the likes of Eric Bristow, Jockey Wilson bringing people along. Then you come forward, you've got Phil Taylor, there, Michael Van Gerwen, Barney, and Luke Littler. Obviously, more recently, Luke Humphreys. Each time you have to raise your game. If you want to be in contention, if you want to win titles, you have to raise your game. You're going to have to be at your absolute best. And I think by having the players, I've seen it on the women's series, you've now got more people hitting bigger averages, statistically scoring better, more consistency, because you're getting used to the environment you're playing in. But you also know that if you do get a chance or an opportunity against these top players, you're going to have to take it. So I think it's just driving the rest of us to kind of try and keep up as much as we possibly can. But in terms of the way that she promotes the sport as well, for people on the outside looking in, she's showing that there are these opportunities. Women can play at this level, but it takes a lot of hard work and dedication, I'm sure, as well. So for me, I just think she's a great ambassador for the sport, along with the likes of Lisa Ashton, Fallon Sherrock, all those players that have done great things for the sport. Beau's just for me, just that player that's got the extra edge at the moment. She's a phenomenon.
You've been obviously competing on the PDC Women's Series since it started, really, a number of years ago. How has that changed since that first event to what you saw late last year and what you're hoping to see in 2025?
If you go back to how it all pretty much originally started, it used to just be like this one-day qualifier, which would then allow us a place into the World Championships. Then obviously, what Fallon Sherrock did at the Ali Pali, it just caught the attention of everybody, really. And then off the back of that, it developed into, we got a full-on women's series, which has grown, has developed. We've now got 24 events over a year. We've got a women's match play, a dedicated televised event for the women as well. Places up for grabs in the Grand Slam, places up for grabs at the World Championships. And now obviously we've also got the top 8. We've got a chance to qualify for the Masters. So it's growing, it's developing. That's all we can possibly ask for. But when you get the women, or any player really, but when you get to see these people playing on the platforms that are like globally available, what it's doing is obviously always it's encouraging more people to take up the sport as well. We've seen the Luke Littler effect and what that's done. So I'm hoping for more of the same when other girls see the likes of Fallon, Beau, Lisa, like on the big stages, they go, oh, I want to do that as well. So, you know, that's my hope. I'm always hopeful that we're just encouraging more and more women and girls to take up the sport.
What do you think is the next step for women in terms of the women's series stepping up inside the PDC? Is it more TV tournaments? Do you think that's a realistic possibility over the next couple of years?
Well, I'm going to say yes, aren't I? Because it would be lovely to have more TV tournaments. I guess it's a case of like just being able to walk before you can run. But I do think there's perhaps scope of, you know, the women's match play, maybe extending the field out. At the moment, it's 8 women, but potentially I think there's 16 women there that can be equally as competitive, especially when you look at the different names that have picked up titles over the last couple of years at the women's series. Yes, it's been dominated by the likes of Beau Greaves. However, there are other names coming through. You've got Gemma Hayter, Kirsty Hutchinson. You've got obviously still Mikuru, Suzuki, Lorraine Winstanley, Aileen de Graaf, Rhiannon O'Sullivan. I could keep naming lots of players. So I do think perhaps that's one thing, or you know, something like a multi-board event. So like the UK Open, it could lend itself quite well to having everything kind of there and in position to have either a dedicated women's event or to have women through the women's series order of merit in to the field as well. So I think there are certain things, but obviously it's a case of, you know, it's each time we're just trying to prove ourselves. And I do think we are. I think the standard is going up. And I think Beau's kind of the kind of leading light in that.
Oh, brilliant stuff. Really appreciate the time today, Laura. Hopefully more success just around the corner for Beau and yourself as the women's series kicks off in 2025. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you.